Sup, it's Rob here. This is Apparel Success, and I run a Canadian lifestyle brand called K-Bud that represents rural Canada. I've done multiple six figures in sales every year for the past 3 years for my brand, so I help brands like yours get really good results. And one of the things that I've seen come up on my YouTube channel over and over again is talk about your experience with pop-up shops. How do you do them? What are the pros and cons of actually being at pop-up shops for your brand? And I want to just share with you my experiences doing pop-up shops because I've done several of them for my own clothing brand. And so I'm going to share with you my story here, and I really hope that this answers some questions for you. Apparel Success is sponsored by my buds over at BrandCrowd. BrandCrowd's a logo maker tool. You type in the name of the logo that you want to have made, smack that enter button. Thousands of logos will come up. You choose the logo that you like, then you can edit and refine that logo as long as you want for free until it's perfect. This is a Hundo P design I made for my own clothing brand using BrandCrowd. If you're interested, head over to brandcrowd.com/apparel success and you can get up to 66% off at checkout. All right, so the obvious pros about going to pop-up shops for your clothing brand is that you can get some brand visibility and you can make some sales if you're at the right pop-up events and if they're aligned with your brand concept. But what I found personally from my own experience doing this with my own brand multiple times, mostly several years ago, to be honest, now I just do mostly online, is that I found the pop-up shops were best for getting real-time customer feedback and for actually testing new markets. When we first went to our first pop-up shop, we thought, because we were only in our first couple of months as a brand, that our brand was going to be for hockey players in Canada. K-Bud came from when we were playing hockey. Somebody in the penalty box was like, K-Bud, to the other guy, and the other guy was like, oh yeah, sure, bud, whatever, bud. And it was like, oh my God, okay, this is like a hockey brand, because at hockey, everybody's like, bud, yeah, okay, bud, whatever, bud, and that's just the way that they talk. And because of this assumption that we had that our brand was a hockey brand and it must be for hockey players because that's what it originated out of, we decided to do our first pop-up shop at a hockey event. And funny enough, when we got to this event, what we realized was that most of the people who were buying were these like country guys. They were these guys from rural areas that drove like several hours from the rural communities into the big city to join this hockey tournament. And it wasn't the hockey guys that we thought would want to buy our brand. And that was such important feedback for us at that point in our clothing brand's journey, because it taught us that the direction that we were headed with our brand, who we were trying to sculpt our brand for, isn't actually what this idea came out of. And I've talked about this a lot on this channel. For us, we had this brand idea that we sort of had this like ping or intuition that there was something real about it, like that it came out of a real place in Canadian culture, but we hadn't quite gotten to the core of what it was yet. We were still trying to sort of like sculpt that sculpture to figure out like what is at the core of this brand idea. And these events really helped us figure this out. We met a couple of guys at this event that were talking about where they were from. They were talking about why they liked the brand. They posted pictures of them wearing it several weeks later on Instagram on lakes, in boats, fishing. And we were like, man, that's what this brand is about. It's for rural Canadians. It's for the country people in Canada. Those are the people who are going to resonate with it, because those are the people that actually started saying bud and talking like that all of the hockey guys took it from. So it was just kind of like this really eye-opening experience that we had. And I think that this is the reason why, especially in your first year or two, it's definitely worth it to do pop-up shops for your own clothing brand. Sure, we made a bunch of sales at these events. We sold a lot of hats, sold some tees and tanks, but nowhere near as many sales as we were getting online, just through posting on Instagram and going direct to consumer through social media marketing. So to just do these events purely for the sales that you're getting, like the practical, pragmatic reason of we just want more sales for our clothing brand, I'm not sure it's quite worth it, just because you can utilize TikTok, you can utilize Instagram well enough to pull off just as many sales, if not 10 times more online. But the one downside about just running an online business is that you don't really have your toes in the real world anymore. Like, you're not directly looking people in the eyes and getting to know them and seeing the identity that you're trying to sell to and really understanding your customer on that just like 100% level. Because understanding your target audience on that 100% level will help you sculpt your brand. It'll help you write your story. It'll help you design your website. It'll help you come out with new products into the future, write your brand statement. So it's really important that you actually talk to those people, especially like I said, in the first 6 months to a year, so that you can really understand what your brand's about. Bring that to the online world so that you know exactly who you're going after, and that's when you're going to start to crush. So some of the reasons why I don't do pop-up shops anymore for my clothing brand, and this is just being completely honest with you, I have a pretty extremely niche clothing brand that's pretty easy to get in front of my target market online, and my skill set is all online. So there's really no reason for me to put up the initial investment, take all the risk at showing up at pop-up shops and trying to sell, when I can do all of that online for much less risk, and it falls more within my skill set. Also, pop-up shops have a smaller window for you to sell at. So you're gonna put up this initial investment, and you're gonna have a short amount of time while you're at that event to actually sell the clothing that you have to sell. And so you don't have as much time to work it, and if you make any mistakes in terms of your branding or the way that you've set up your shop and showing your shop off, it can hurt you, and it can really sort of lead to no sales and a loss of money and just wasted time. And then on top of that, I think that the logistics and planning is just a little bit much, like bringing the tent to the event, setting up a table, doing all of that, especially when you're not really selling any like high ticket things. Like you're not trying to sell a boat to people. You're just trying to sell a couple hoodies and t-shirts that you could sell online. Now, like I said, I don't have anything wrong with pop-up shops at all. I know that there's a ton of clothing brands out there that absolutely crush at events. And if you're one of those brands, please continuously go to them, keep working them, keep crushing it. That's what all this is about. It's about being open and just leaning into what's working for your own brand. I'm just speaking personally from my own experience. And just to recap from my personal experience, the main value that I got out of pop-up shops for my brand was testing new markets and just getting that real-time customer feedback. I would go back again 1,000 times and do these pop-up shops just for that, just to figure out exactly who my customers are. And then you can take that to the online world. I spent a full month recording a 100% free clothing brand course for anybody starting up a clothing brand right now. All you have to do to get access is go to freeclothingcourse.com. You can go through it at your own pace. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.